Okay, it looks like we're live, and we're just gonna give all this a moment. Hey guys, thanks for joining. Hey everyone, thanks for joining. Wherever you're in the world, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And as I just said, we're just gonna give this a few minutes, let everybody join, so everybody has a chance to see what we're doing today from the start. And then we'll get started right away. And I'm just gonna give this a minute or so. Again, thanks for joining. And then we'll jump right in, take a look at the new Rentman, take a look at the new document editor. And if you're new to Rentman, we're just gonna give you a quick introduction to actual document editing itself. So again, just gonna wait a few seconds here and then jump right in. Okay, looks like we had a few more people join. Thanks again, everyone, for joining today. And I think we've given people 2-3 minutes now to join the meeting, and I think there might be a few more joining, but I think we're just going to dive right in and get started. Now, I want to thank everyone again for joining today. My name is Tim. I'm working in business development for Rentman. I'm based in North America, here in Toronto, Canada. And I'll be guiding you through the Improving Documents webinar today, as you can see on our screen. Now, I'm being supported by two of my colleagues, by Parker and by Cassie. They'll be helping me with any questions coming in from you guys. And really what we're trying to do today is show the new interface and the new document editor to existing users of Rentman, but also to new users. So both if you have used Rentman in the past or if you're completely new to it, we're going to try to cover as many basics as possible and just give you a better idea really what Rentman and the document editor is all about. Now, be aware that the way that you can communicate with us today is limited to the Q&A section that you can see in your Zoom window. Now, you cannot talk to us, you cannot use the chat feature either, but if you do have any questions about what we do today, any ideas, any concerns, just pop them in the Q&A below, and then either Parker, Cassie, or me, whatever, if you're going to answer them live, or we're going to get back to you via email at a later point in time if it's a little bit too extensive to cover today. Now, be aware that whatever we're doing today will be recorded and will also be made available on YouTube. So if you have any colleagues, any partners that you work with that can't join today, you can always send that link to them and they can relive that webinar at a later point in time, at a time that works better for you, or for them in this case. Now, be aware that what we're doing today is already the third webinar in our 6-part webinar series. So maybe you already joined for the 2 last ones where we talked a little bit more about Rentman in terms of an introduction. Last week, if you joined on Friday, you were able to see me talking a little bit more about warehousing and equipment management. And we have 3 more webinars coming up after this one. I think we'll be posting a link to sign up to them in the chat as well. And that will be about crew planning, invoicing, and our Rentman best practices. So again, if you're really trying to cover all your tracks here, if you're really trying to figure out how to use the new Rentman best or how to use Rentman in general, make sure to sign up for these webinars as well. Yeah, and again, I think Parker and Cassie, we're going to post a link to that in the chat. So just head on right over there, sign up, and yeah, we're going to try to cover all of these things as well. Okay, and by the way, if you do need any additional help after this, if you do have some more questions about document templates, you always do have the ability to also schedule personal meetings with us through demo links. So don't worry about reaching out or sending an email to support@rentman.io. We can always schedule another meeting with whoever would be interested. Okay, to quickly check what we're going to do today, we're going to take a look at the overall document library in Rentman. What do we have in here? How do we start with a new document? We're going to be talking about our new editing sidebar. I'm also going to show what it looked like before, what it looks like now, looking at the new style feature that we've implemented and how it helps customers or users set up their documents even easier. We're going to also apply and send a template, and then we're going to take a brief look at email templates as well, just because that's directly connected to it. And I want to make sure we really cover everything today. Okay, and as I said, looks like I jumped ahead a little bit there. And again, if you do have any questions, you can directly ask them now or at a later point in time, whenever you feel like something is unclear. Okay, gonna go out of this and directly head over to Rentman. And I'm assuming everyone can see my screen right now. And we're looking at Rentman, the new user interface right here. I'm looking at my dashboard right now that I've customized a little bit, but again, that's not what we're going to cover today. What we're going to cover today are our actual document templates. And if you want to head over to them, you simply have to go to your configuration settings on the lower left here. Close that out, and then just head right down here in the customer communication. You can find your document templates, and that's what we're going to choose. Now let's talk a little bit about the actual advantages of document templates first. So why do they even play an important part in Rentman? Now, you guys work in event production. You know that you have different types of clients, of customers, of partners that you work with, and you really know that not every document or not every client wants to have the same type of design for the documents. There's really no one size fits all if we're talking about your quotations, your contracts, your invoices. Every client wants a little bit of a different, sometimes more information, sometimes less information, right? And what we really want to do here is give you guys the ability to have custom documents for every type of client that you really have. So, some clients you want to show the unit price, some clients you really just want to show one line item. And with these document templates, you're able to set them up the way you want them to look like. And then you're also directly able to choose individually on a project level how you want which document to look like. Yeah. So again, you can have that brief summary of equipment and labor, but you also can have an extensive outline of all of the gear that you're bringing on a job and all the people that you're bringing to a job. And with these documents, that's easier than ever. Yeah. Now, we're looking at our document templates overview right here. Now, if we're looking at this view right here, you can see a couple of different pieces of information here. First of all, the name, the different types of document templates that we have here, your reminders, your packing slips, and your contracts. And one important thing to see here is that all of these, as you can see, are system templates. Now, if you have a document in Rentman, it's a system template. That means it is provided by us, which of course is great because we give you guys free documents. But on the other hand, that also means that you cannot customize these right away. So I could not go in here, click on Split Subprojects template right here, and directly edit it. Yeah. So what you will have to do, you will actually have to take the document that you think you want to work with. For example, you want to customize an extended contract, and before being able to actually customize it, you first have to make a duplicate of it. Why do we do this? Well, let's put it this way. Let's, for example, say you mess up while you're customizing your template and you really want to go back to what it looked like. You can always go back here, take that system of template again, and then just go back and duplicate it again and start working on it. Yeah. So what that means is we give you a library of documents. And then if you want to, you can say, all right, I like this extended contract. I want to make some customizations. So you just duplicate it, you make the changes, and you save it as your own custom template for your own business. Yeah. Now, because I mostly work, with our US users over here in North America, most of the templates that you're seeing here have been customized to the US. Now, a lot of you guys are based all over the world. I think we have users in more than 80 countries. So in this case, if you, for example, do business abroad, or if you're in another country, don't worry. You can always go up to our template library right here. And then, as you can see, we do have quite the variety of templates right here in different languages adjusted to the local conditions. So if you do business in Iceland, maybe, I don't know, like if you would do that, especially when talking with my US users, you could directly use Icelandic templates here. If you do business in Germany, you could do that, or even in Russian. Yeah, so you can choose different templates for different languages right up here. Okay, now, one thing before we get started here and talking a little bit more about the customization aspect, while you can base your own templates that you're customizing on existing system templates that we offer, you can also start with your own templates from scratch, right? The way you do this is very simple. You just go up here and click on Add Document Template. And instead of starting with a pre-configured template where you can make some changes, you start with a blank slate where you can really just drag and drop your modules in. We're going to talk about that in a second. And then just start from scratch without being maybe confused by what's already in there. Yeah, definitely a possibility, not something that we'll be doing today. We're going to directly start with one of our existing ones and we're going to duplicate that. Yeah, and let's jump right in. I'm going to go down here, and I think what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go ahead and customize a quotation, an estimate, wherever you're in the world, you might call it different ways. And I'm going to choose our extended template down here. Now, again, this is a system template, which means I cannot customize it yet. So what I do is I just go in here and say like, all right, I like the default system template that Rentman offers me. Let's make a few changes to it. So I take it, easily duplicate it up here, and then I directly have a duplicate of that template that I'm looking at. Now, one thing that is essential to understand to new users, so if you're just starting with Rentman, what I'm doing here, what I'm customizing here is not specifically the quotation that I'm going to send out for our concert at the Valley. What Rentman does here is it takes an existing project in your database, for example, concert at the Valley, and it shows you, okay, if I were to apply this template right here to this project, this is what a quotation would look like for it. Right? So again, I'm not customizing my concert at the Valley quotation. I'm just customizing the template, and Rentman is telling me, okay, this is what it would look like if you used it for that. So just be aware of that, just to avoid that there's any confusion around that. Now, a few things have changed here. If you're an existing users, if you have used Rentman 4 before, you're going to see that a few things are a little bit different than how they used to be. So first of all, the overview is a lot cleaner, and everything is in our sidebar to the right here. Yeah, so everything basically that was on top, that was spread out over here in the sidebar is now a little bit more compact and to be found here. So first of all, a preview. Again, you can select which data you want to use as an example for this template. And right now what I'm using is my concert at the Valley as an example. I could, for example, also go in here now see, all right, what would my musical Tarzan quotation look like with this? So you can easily switch between different projects with different pieces of gear and choose, one, check what they would look like. So we're going to go with the concert at the Valley today because I've prepared a few things for that, funnily enough. And first of all, we have the preview here. You can also directly choose your letterhead. Now, the letterhead is more from the branding side of things here. Be aware that if you have uploaded a letterhead into Rentman, it will not be visible while you're customizing your documents. Yeah. It will, however, show how much space the letterhead will take up. So if you have uploaded a letterhead and your logo takes up, 2-3 inches up here, 2 inches, then it will directly show you, or 5 centimeters, if you're using metric or imperial, I'm going to leave that up to you. You will directly be able to see how much that letterhead would take up in terms of space up here. However, it will not show the actual branding, so your own letterhead. Yeah, so that's what the preview is for. Now let's take a next look. What do we have here? Now, right here, we have the overall setup of the template. Now, what you can do here is, for example, rename the template that you're generating, right? So for example, in here right now, the name for this new template is called Extended. I don't like this. I want to make it my own template. So I'm just going to call it Tim's Extended Template. Yeah. So give it more of a custom name. You can then choose what kind of template it is. Of course, it's a quotation. Should it be visible? What language it's in? What country? And so on. You can even choose what kind of subject and file name should be applied automatically. And then also you can see that our digital signing options for our digital signature button, our header text and footer text have now moved into this part. Right. So again, that's under the template button right here. Now, next step, let's talk about blocks and modules. Now, if you're familiar with Rentman, you will know that these blocks, which you can essentially drag into Rentman, were a little bit spread out in the sidebar before. Now we have our own little module right here. You can just go in and you can, for example, make adjustments to the layout by easily dragging them in. And it's really just like before, just taking that piece, dragging it over here, and thereby assigning it to a certain part of the document overview. Yeah, so we have nice new little logos for those as well, just to make it a little bit easier to identify them and directly drag and drop them into the document. Yeah, so this is here now. And then let's talk about styles. Now, styles is a completely new thing in Rentman. We did not have this before in the old interface. And to prove that we didn't have it, I'm quickly going to switch back and also just give you a general overview of what has changed. So I'm just going to head over here. And now we're looking at the old interface. And as you're seeing, there's a lot more information on the screen with things up here. And we really try to, make it a little bit more compact by moving everything over here to the right. And as you're seeing, this wasn't bad by all means, but if we take a look at this now, it's a lot clearer, it's a lot more clean. And again, we didn't have these styles in the old interface either. Now, what are styles? Well, essentially styles give you the ability to easier apply customization over a variety of documents that you use. So for example, maybe you want your quotes, your contracts, your invoices, your packing lists, and maybe even other types of documents to look exactly the same in terms of styling. And to do that, you could now go in here and simply choose an existing style that we give you. So for example, Rentman style 1 or style 2, but you can also customize them right away. Now, let me give you an example of that. Let's choose Rentman style 2 here. I'm going to choose that. Sure you want to apply the style? Yes, I do. And you can directly see that now we've done a little bit of work for you here, and now you directly have a little bit of a different style applied to your documents. Why is this relevant? Well, let's put it this way. Instead of you having to go into the CSS part of Rentman and having to, play around, teach yourself a little bit of basic coding, you can now directly make some basic adjustments. So what color do I want my headers to be? What color do I want my table headers to be? What colors do I want my table content to be? And you can directly adjust these here. And then again, when you're setting up a contract, for example, or an invoice, you can easily just go in here, choose your custom style or one of the pre-configured style that we have already made available to you. So again, it's easier to have streamlined branding, integrated colors over all your documents. Yeah? And you can easily change these things here. For example, let's make the table content my favorite Rentman color. There we go, orange. So you can easily change these by knowing the hex codes. If you do want to make more elaborate changes, if you know CSS, if you want to look up a few things on that, you can always go in here and click on Edit Style, and then you can make some more extensive changes, right? If you do have that knowledge, and you can do that, but again, we can also help you a little bit with that, just to give you some ideas what would be possible. So that's still a possibility. And if you actually edit something like I just did, I changed the table content color, you can also directly go ahead later on and save these styles as new one so that you have your own styles that you can apply across documents. Yeah. Okay. I do hope what I covered just now in terms of styles is making sense to you. So again, this is essentially replacing CSS. You can make some basic adjustments here and then apply it everywhere. Okay. Perfect. Now, that was a little bit more about what we covered here. Now, I'm going to give you guys half a minute or so to ask any questions about the general setup before we dive right in and take a closer look at a few of the specific modules right here. So if you have questions, use the Q&A button. The chat is not working. You cannot talk with us, but use the Q&A button and ask us any questions. And again, I'm going to give this half a minute or so. All right. So Parker, help me. Do we have any questions so far, or am I doing an okay job?
You're doing a fantastic job, Tim, evidenced by the fact that there are no questions right now. So I would say carry on.
Beautiful. Okay, and again, guys, if you have questions, just use the Q&A to post them in there. Thanks, Parker.
Yep.
Okay, so moving on, let's do a little bit of basic work in Rentman. Let's change up a few things. Let's make all that stuff look a little bit, or let's customize it a little bit. And what we're going to start off with, just looking at the general setup here. Now, it's important to understand for new users of Rentman that we want to, cover here as well, that there's two general types of blocks, how we call them here in Rentman. You have text blocks, and then you have pre-configured modules, pre-configured blocks. A text module, if we, for example, take a look at this one, is essentially that you can fully customize yourself. If I want to edit this one, I just click on it. And I can directly see that this is fully customizable by using variables. So I could, for example, put in a little text right here. And then if I want Rentman to automatically pull that information from the respective project for which I'm creating a quote, I could directly put in the variable right here. So you can see there's a little bit more work to be done from your end, but it also gives you more customization options. Yeah. So for example, let's do a little bit of work on that. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go in here. You can see that this is a table, small spreadsheet that we have here. And I'm thinking, you know what, I feel like the project price should be mentioned somewhere up here already. You directly want to let your client know what this was cost like. So now I'm going to go down here. I'm going to add a row after this. And now I'm going to type in whatever information I want to show in this document. And I'm going to call this project price. I'm just quickly going to type that in here. And now, of course, I need to find the correct variable to put into here. So how do I do this? And to help you with that, you have to use our variable generator. The variable generator used to be in the sidebar over here. It has moved now, and it actually can be found in this little view right here in this little window. So let me find the project price variable. So I'm going to click on variable here. I'm going to click on quotation here. And now I just have to find the project price quotation, and I directly have found it down here, and I can directly choose it. You can see though that you have a variety of variables to choose from. So depending on the information you want to add in here, super simple. So now I've lost it. Let's choose project price here. There we go. And you can see it directly has added the project price variable in here. And now if I click away from this, it's directly going to populate that and show me the overall project price. So again, you have lots of flexibility here to show the right information to the client. And again, text modules are great for just doing a little bit more of custom work. Yeah, so those are the text fields. Yeah, you can add tables in here, but for example, if we go up here and look at this text module right here, you don't have to use tables. You can also just add the variables after one another, and it's hopefully going to look okay. Personally, I would always suggest to use a table within a text module just because you can see it gives you a lot more structure. And if we're all honest, this is going to be easier to edit than what we have up here, where it's basically just variables lined up behind one another. Yeah, so use your text modules, add a table in there, and if you want another add-in text module, you just drag and drop it wherever you want it to be, and then when you go in, you can just add a table in there. Super simple. Okay. Now let's talk a little bit more about the pre-configured modules that we have here. And I think the best place is to maybe look at the equipment module. So first of all, the way this works is that if you, for example, want to have additional information in your document, you can just take whatever block you want, like an equipment groups module, and just push it wherever you want it to be. So you can just take that and drag and drop it somewhere here, and then Rentman is directly going to show you the respective information. So for example, I'm going to drop that here. And now this is an equipment group module. So for this project right here, it would tell me, all right, these are the equipment groups that you're using within this project. Yeah. So again, very easy to just take these blocks and drop them in your template. So for now, I'm going to delete this though, because I don't want to work with this and it looks a little bit strange. So I'm going to get rid of that. Now, talking about blocks, what can we do with them? Well, first of all, let's click on the edit button right here. One of the major things that has changed in comparison to the old interface is that instead of having a window pop up open now, let me show you this right now. I'm going to navigate back to our old one. So for example, if I were to go in here and edit my equipment section in the old interface, you directly have this tiny bit annoying window opening up that directly takes up all of the space over here. Yeah, so you have to make a change. You have to save it, and then only then the change is applied. While in the new interface, if we head over here, you really just click on the button right here. You have it pop open in the sidebar here, where you can now make changes. And the changes are also applied in real time to whatever's happening over here. Yeah, so for example, if I said that my header text in here should be, I don't know, gear, I could directly type that in and it would directly update it automatically. Yeah, so it's a super simple process now. While you're making changes, you are able to see the changes that you're making. So it's a lot more comprehensive, a lot more intuitive than before. Yeah, and what we're editing here now, this little block here that I've chosen, these are the general settings of our equipment module or of the module that we have selected. So you can see right here, how do I want to show my kits? Do I want to show both the kit content and then the actual kit name? So these are the general settings of the module, of the block that you're customizing. Yeah. So how do I want to group it? How do I want to display my sums and so on? So you can do that. And now if we want to talk a little bit more about the actual individual columns that we have here, like equipment, unit price, factor, then we just go down here, click on this little button here, and then you can directly see all of these columns popping up. Now, in my case, I, for example, want to see, okay, out of this equipment right here that I've planned on this project, how much of this is actually coming from my own warehouse, and how much of it do I have sub-rented from, a few of my partners? And if you want to now customize, this is super simple. Again, you have selected the block, you've selected this option down here, this little button, and now you want to add a new column. So let's do that. I'm going to click on Add Column, and now I want to add information about my equipment planning. That's correct. And now I just have to find the From My Own Warehouse option. I'm just going to go down here, and I directly have quantity from own warehouse. Yeah, so again, what I'm adding here is how much am I supplying on my own, and based on that, I can directly assume how much I'm sub-renting. So I'm going to add that. I have my quantity from own warehouse column, and now you can see that's very close to my price right here. So how do I now change the actual setup of this column here? Well, super simple. Again, go back to columns, click on the quantity from own warehouse column, and then say, all right, I want the width of this to be, let's say, 20%. And I also want my left margin to be 5 pixels, or even more, let's do 10, right? So this way, you can add your own columns, and if you're not entirely happy what this looks like, for example, that's a lot of text that we have right here. So I could now go in here and, for example, delete this and say from on WH. Yeah, just to clean it up a little bit, to make it a little bit cleaner. You can do these things, you can align it, you can do some custom CSS even on this level, so lots of options on the column level as well. And again, you can rearrange these. For example, I could also put the quantity from one warehouse up here, so there's lots of options of what you can do. What I've done here doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I think you guys are getting the idea. Yeah? Okay, awesome. So for now, I'm just gonna drag this, back down here again. I want this behind the price, there we go. Okay, so that was a little bit about the columns and how to edit them. Again, you can do this with all of the different columns. You can add columns, you can remove columns as well if you don't like some of them. You can rename them too. There's quite a few options in here. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Now, one additional thing that might be helpful. When you're setting up a quotation in Rentman and you're about to send it out, there's always a little bit of personal text that you can type in, right? Every quote should be customized a bit for your clients. And that text that you're actually typing in while you're generating the quote, if you want that one to automatically show up on your quotation as well, you have to make sure that you use excuse me, this text variable right down here. So basically what you do is you add a text field into your quotation, and then what you do is you add your $f.text variable in there, and that will take that personal text that you enter when you're generating the quote on a project level and directly put it in there. Okay, so just for you to know, that's how you would have that show up here. In this case, in Concert at the Valley, I have not added a personal type of text yet. I'm going to be doing that later, though, when I'm actually sending out that quotation, to just show you guys how that works. Okay, so a few more things here. Let's talk a little bit about how to make the document look professional. How do we add footers, headers, page numbers, these kind of things. Again, I had mentioned that this has changed now. So if you go up here to this little module here, to our template module, here is the place where you can make these changes. And now I can change how my digital signing works here, but I can also, for example, change how my footer text works here. And I now click on footer text. This is also the place where you could now enter your own footer, maybe that you've already set up yourself. You could just type that in here. And that's also the place where you can directly add in a page number. Yeah, so I'm gonna go in here, add a variable, add my page number variable, and then I can add the one number of pages, but I just want the page number 1. I have that in here, and now I can either move it around a little bit if I want it in the middle or on the right side. I'm just gonna put that here and directly save it. Be aware that the page number variable will not show up while you're in this view right here. So it's not visible to you actually when you're working on a document template, it will only be visible when you use that document template to actually generate a quotation. Very important to understand. It's not visible here, don't get confused. It will actually show up later on. Yeah. Okay, now looking at my document here, this is all looking very pretty, very nice colors, our old colors, I like them. Not too happy that we switched away from them, by the way. One thing that bothers me a little bit here is that it's just one long document, just one long page. So how do we split that up a little bit? Well, super simple. Let's use a page break block. I'm just going to go in here. I go to my blocks options again, the little plus here, and I can look for my page break. I got it right here. And let's just say I want a page break right here between equipment and time schedule. So I just take that whole thing and I drop it right in here. If it lets me, let's try that again. There we go. And now I've directly entered a page break. I have a clean first page, and then it directly starts with all of my equipment on the second page right here. And again, depending on how you want your documents to look like, you could, for example, want crew on an individual page and equipment as well. You could just take another one and drag and drop it right in here as well if you wanted to do that. Yeah. So very easy to apply that page break module. Now I've covered a few things. If I'm going to quickly, let us know. But again, I'm just going to go ahead and ask Parker. Do we have any questions? Anything that I maybe didn't cover?
Hey, Tim. So Mark did ask, he's wondering how to admit the last name in the created by field. I believe Cassie is typing the answer to that as we speak, but we could also go ahead and show him by clicking edit and selecting the variable.
Exactly. So you can just go in here. We want to edit what we're showing here about the creator. So I could really just go in here and probably delete this variable here, add a new one in. And I think that's about the logged in user, which is me. And then I could just choose the first name variable right here. Yeah, so I could choose that, user first name, and then if I'm not mistaken, it's just going to show my first name, and my first name, excuse me, is Tim. And I think that covers that, right, Parker?
Yeah, that's right. There is a dedicated variable for who it's created by, and it's the same thing, first name, but yeah, there are multiple ways to skin the cat, as we would say. So
All right.
nice job.
Perfect, thanks. Any other questions at this point in time that I can help you guys with? Or are we good?
Yep, not right now. Thanks, Tim.
Beautiful. Okay, not a problem. So we talked a little bit about our different modules, text, and the actual pre-configured blocks on how to customize them a little bit, how to change their overall setup, and how to add page breaks if we want to declutter that whole thing a little bit. But let's say you have some clients, we work in the event space, different people like different designs that want a more visual representation of what we're doing here. We're talking about images. So how do you add images to your quotes? We have a module for that. We're also seeing that over here. So go into your blocks, go to the content, choose the images module, and then just really drag it wherever you want it to have it. So I, for example, in my case, want this to have right here after our gear, our listing of gear. So I'm just going to try to drag that right in here. Sometimes that little thing can be a little bit janky, but there we go. Okay, so now I have my images block in here. And before starting this webinar, I made sure that the images I had attached to my equipment were also showing up by default. So if you add the images property to a quotation and you're not seeing actual images, make sure first of all that you've of course connected images, JPEGs, PNGs to your equipment in your database, and also make sure that when you're adding these images, you've turned on that they should be displayed in documents. Now, if you're not seeing that, I confuse that as well. Just make sure that feature is turned on. That's under equipment and within the respective item. So again, depending on the client, really, if you want to give a little bit of a visual impression of what's going on here, you could directly show that. And in this case, I have just a few images right here of gear that I've planned on this project. So might be a great option, but again, different strokes for different folks. Some people might want to see it, some others don't. And talking about this impression field here, again, more options to customize here as well. What do you want this to be called? Like, I don't like impression, I want images, right? Directly changes that. How big do you want your images to be? I want them a little bit smaller. So I'm just going to change it up as well. So quite a few options right here. And again, the cool thing about this in comparison to the old editors is it directly adjusts that in front of you. So you don't have to jump back and forth between windows and adjust these. Okay, that was a little bit more about images. I think I'm going to keep that in. It looks like one of the images I'm using here is a little bit broken, which is why it's not showing up. Okay, images. Now, let's talk a little bit more in detail um, about the different blocks that we have. And I'm going to take the equipment block here again as an example. So let me go into the equipment settings here. And as I mentioned earlier, these two blocks right here allow you to edit whatever block you have selected. So again, right now I've selected the equipment block, which means I'm editing that specific block. So here we add our columns, moving them around, adding new ones, deleting existing ones. And now here we have our general setup of this. So again, header text, display, and so on. There's also more advanced settings that you can work with here. You can always click on Show Advanced Settings. Not something that I'm going to cover today. I think we might be looking into that more into the best practices webinar, but you can also always reach out to us. But anyways, if you click on Show Advanced Settings, you directly have more options on, display name of the group, where exactly would you like to display these, how would you like to display these. So don't forget that this option exists and gives you more opportunities to customize that even further without having to go into the whole CSS side of things. Yeah? I'm not going to be making any changes to that today, though. One thing that I will do, though, give you another example on what you could, for example, do in terms of wanting to customize this even further. And that's, for example, if we go in here and we look at the columns and we, for example, don't want whatever price is displayed here to already include the discount that we've maybe applied. So we want to show that discount all the way to the bottom when we're summing everything up. I could now go in here, click on my columns, click on the I think price column or even unit price. And when I click on that, I can directly go down here and choose, there we go, how I want my discount to be applied to this. Right now, it's already applying the discount on a line item level. Maybe I don't want that. Maybe I just want my discount to be applied at the end to give my client a better idea, what's the overall discount they're getting. And then I could just go in here and say, all right, I don't want the discount to be applied, which will then change whatever is displayed here accordingly. Yeah, and I hope that's making sense. If it doesn't, just let me know in the Q&A. Okay. So we're going to be covering a few more things now. Unfortunately, we can't cover everything in a document editor. It is quite extensive. And again, if I'm missing anything, if you do have questions, just pop them in a Q&A and we're going to cover them. Yeah. So you're sending out your quote. You want your terms and conditions, your actual contract possibly to be displayed on that as well. How do you do that? Well, first of all, you always have to make sure that when you're setting up your document template, you have this little module added down here. That's the additional conditions module. Again, that is something that you can simply pull in from the blocks module here. I do believe it's somewhere down here. Where do we have it? The conditions module. So if you didn't have that, just take it, drag and drop it right in to place. Now, this doesn't show me any terms and conditions by default. So essentially how Rentman handles terms and conditions is that you set them up in your configurations. We have a unique place down here. If you go to configuration, there's an additional conditions module for this. And then you can enter your terms and conditions there. Okay. Now, if you're within the project, you finalized your project, you finalized building it, you can then at the end of building the project, when you're in the financial module of it, you can choose what terms and conditions you like to be applied on your document. Why is this helpful? Well, we do have a lot of users that do lots of different types of events. And for different types of events or for different types of clients, you might have different terms and conditions. So that means you don't want one static terms and conditions to be applied on here. But whenever you're building the project, you choose from a dropdown what terms and conditions you want to have displayed. And then those will be shown down here in the additional terms and conditions module. Yeah, so you set up your terms and conditions in the configurations. When you're within the project, you choose which ones you want to have displayed on your quotation, and then when you generate the quotation, if you've added the block in the template module earlier, it will show your terms and conditions on the document. Yeah, I hope that's making sense. If it doesn't, let me know. Okay, perfect. So I think pretty much coming to an end here, Nelly. And I think the last thing I just briefly want to point out is subprojects. So if you're new to Rentman, you got to understand that in Rentman, you do have the ability to take a big chunk of a project. You have one big project. Let's say you have a conference, you have multiple breakouts, you have a general session, you maybe have an after party, something like that, and you want to just structure that a little bit better. You can actually take a big project and split it into multiple smaller pieces, which we call sub-projects. Yeah? It's great in planning because you can directly per sub-project define what equipment do I need for my general session, what equipment do I need for a breakout 1, 2, 3, and so on. And when you're generating your quotation, you can also make sure that Rentman displays these different rooms, these different breakouts, the general session individually. And the way you do this is that when you're building your actual template, you want to start off by putting in the sub-project module right here. Yeah, I can't show you this here right now because I don't think this project has sub-projects that I'm working on my concert. But what you would essentially do is you would go in here, take that sub-project module, drag and drop it somewhere. Let me see if it does that. Let's go further down here, actually. I think that's going to make more sense. Just going to take the sub-project module, add it in here. And now essentially what I'm doing is, if I now was to take additional modules like equipment groups, functions, and so on, I would pretty much just drag and drop them into the sub-projects module. Okay, and what I'm essentially doing this is that instead of defining the setup of my overall project and how it would be set up, I'm defining how Rentman on a quotation would show me my individual sub-projects. Okay, so if I take add equipment in here, then it would first show me my equipment. If I add function groups in here, then if I have a project with sub-projects, it would directly show me my function groups on a sub-project level after the equipment, right? So important to understand, if you are setting up a template that you want to set up for your specific sub-projects, that it's a template, a document template that you want to use on sub-projects, then you have to make sure that you don't just build that template like that. You have to make sure that you first drag in the sub-projects block, and then you add the respective blocks into the sub-projects block, okay? A little bit like Inception. You have the sub-project, you have the project, you have the sub-project module, and then you add whatever block you want into the sub-project module. Okay, there's a little bit more on the specific side here. So Parker, do we have any questions on whatever I'm explaining here?
Nothing on what you were explaining. We do have a question on number series. One participant's asking if it's possible to number quotes first with the year and then with the number, such as 2020-0013, and this would indeed be possible with the number series. Not sure if you want to quickly show that.
So that would be on the number series feature essentially then, right? Or can you
Yeah,
explain what again,
in
what exactly you're
the
looking for?
configuration module.
Exactly. So that is a possibility. Yes, a little bit away from document templates, but let me just go ahead and cover this. And can you remind me where we had these? I think there was a number series right here. Yeah, so this is not necessarily about document templates, but essentially what you can do here right here, you can choose your starting number. So you could, for example, choose, okay, where do I want my documents in terms of numbering to start off with? And for documents, you have to make sure that this right here can only contain numbers, right? So repair the number and so on. For financial document, you can actually also have multiple numbers series. That is helpful if you, for example, have multiple companies operating under one umbrella, and you want to be able to differentiate between them on a invoice number level, on a quotation number level. You could then down here add different types of number series for the different companies. Yeah. Parker, do you think I answered that question here or not really?
I do believe you did, Tim. Nice job.
Beautiful. Awesome. Thank you. And I don't care that I haven't saved here. I just want to go back to my template. Okay. So we talked a little bit more about sub-projects and how we can add them. And I think on that end, we're pretty much done here. Now, from my end for today, in terms of doing a little bit of work and showing you guys how to customize these templates, how to work with them, especially with the new interface, we're pretty much done here. Again, what I want you to remember here, what's relevant is that Two main differences between blocks: text blocks that you can fully customize, pre-populated blocks, which you can find in here, which you can just drag in, and then Rentman will directly show the information. On the text side, you have more flexibility. If you don't want to, play around with this too much, you can just drag and drop your block in. And then if you're trying to edit these blocks, just click on them, edit them. And if you're trying to adjust these pre-populated blocks like equipment, just edit them. And then whatever you're doing, you can directly do that over here. General settings and adjusting the columns would be in here. So very easy to do all of that. Now, I've done a little bit of work here. Let's generate an actual quote with this, because again, what we were doing here was not for our concert, it was just a general setup of those templates. So I'm going to go ahead and save that whole thing so I don't lose it. Now I've saved my template, and now I want to go back here to a project, and I want to start a new project. So I'm going to add a project up here, and I'm not going to go too slow here. Again, we already covered these parts in a different webinar. I'm going to choose a template here just to quickly get in on this. I have a new project which is based in this template. I have my music festival. I'm going to go down here and type in the name of my client, which funnily enough is Rentman for this job. There we go. Contact person is me. There we go. That's my number. If you're from the US and you have any questions, you can always call this one, by the way, and you can also email me. And then we're just going to go over here to financial. Actually, I think I first have to choose a time schedule, do I? Oh, actually, I've already chosen that. Beautiful. Okay, we're gonna go over here to financial and add a new quotation. Here we go, and it's creating a quotation now. And now it's gonna ask me, okay, what would you like to quote? For me, that's just a music festival, number series I can choose, and so on, just the basic information. And this text down here is what I mentioned earlier. So again, on every quote, you might want to have, a little text, thank you for your business. We're looking forward to working with you, company ABC. And this is the text that you can add down here. So for example, and so on, you could add that text down here. You can also work with variables here to have that auto-populate. And now we're just going to go ahead and generate that actual quote. And now this is the important part. This is now where it asks you, what template do you want to use? How do you want that document design to look? And this is where we now choose our template that we've just generated, which is Tim's extended template. So I'm going to choose that. Letterhead, I'm just going to use the default one that is already in my database here. What is my file name and so on. Quite a few things you can choose here. And I'm now going to generate that quotation with my template. So let's give that a moment. There we go. And we have our document, which is based on Tim's extended template, the one that we just created together. I have my letterhead up here. I have a little bit of information. You can see that the project price, which I had adjusted, is actually showing up. And again, here, this is the personal text that I've just entered. So again, this is not something that you adjust on a document template level. That's something that you can just type in when you're generating that document, and then it's directly going to show up on your documents. My time schedule. Let's take a closer look at the equipment down here and check if the changes that I made were also applied. And looks like the quantity from own warehouse that I've added here. Looks like I think I turned off that the header is displayed here. But again, whatever is coming from your own warehouse is displayed right here. It looks like I just turned off the header accidentally. Yeah. So the changes that I've made are here. The color changes that I've made are right here. And I'm pretty happy with how this is looking. And I believe my images are showing here as well. And they are perfect. And one thing that I forgot to say, page numbers, remember how they were not visible while we're actually setting up the document templates. Indeed, they're now visible here. Yeah. Okay. Now, from here, you can directly do whatever you want with that document. You can directly download it. Send it with Outlook, send it with whatever software you're using. But just to cover this part as well, you can also directly email these documents now from within Rentman. And the process for this is very simple. Just click on email right here. And then, enter the subject for your email, just a small email editor here. Offer, concert, blah, blah, blah. And then you can directly choose who you're sending this to. And in this case, I just want to make sure this goes out to myself. So I'm just going to type in, I'm just going to send this to tim@rentman.io. You can put people in CC, you can put people in BCC, very simple. And then if you want to customize the actual email that you're sending, very relevant to say here is that when you're setting up the actual email body that you're going to send from within Rentman, you do have the ability to work with templates here as well. Be aware that what we're doing here is different from document templates. But what you could, for example, do right here is you could say, hey, and then if you always want to address the person with their first name, depending on where you are in the world, that is maybe the way to go or maybe not. You could just go in here and add variable. And then you could directly say, all right, I want to add the variable of the client's first name. So you could say, or the contact person's first name. So you could, for example, contact person, and then you could directly contact person and then say, what do we have? First name, right? And then it has directly added the variable for the contact person's first name. You don't have to do this. You can also just type in every message manually. But to give you an example, I could now go in here and say apply template, my default template. So what it does is it will always just directly give you this, and then you don't even have to type anymore. You really just have to click on send email, and Rentman will fill that information here automatically if, of course, your client that you've chosen for this project has a name, has a first name, which people usually have a name. So I think that's going to work. Okay. So I think in terms of setting up a document template, adjusting it, using it on a new project, and being about to send it, I've covered pretty much everything. Now, I think for today's webinar, that pretty much covers it. Parker, Cassie, correct me if I'm wrong. Does this cover everything? Did I miss something? Are there any questions?
No questions as of now, Tim, and I'd say you did a pretty great job covering everything. We can give it a minute if you'd like and see if any come in.
Yeah, sure. Let's open it up. Guys, if you do have questions, again, there's a Q&A option. Click into that, ask your questions, throw them all at us. We're going to answer them now, or we're going to get back to you by email. Okay, Parker, how we looking?
Nothing. Let's see. Oh,
I think we're getting a few questions about crew functions.
yeah.
Thanks for asking that, Mark. And that's not something that we're going to cover today. This was more specific about document templates, but I'll have Parker or Cassie follow up with you on that. Just jump on a call, whoever is responsible for your market, and I think we can discuss it in a separate call, just because we want to keep it about document templates today.
There will also be a webinar about crew
There will
planning.
also be a webinar. Very good point. Yeah, where are we going to have that? Do you know the exact dates for that?
I do not, but it would be on our blog, which is linked in the chat.
Okay, and Mark, what you can do, we're definitely going to get back to you on this, but you can also sign up for our crew webinar, which you're going to find in the chat. So just click on our blog there, sign up for that, and I think we're going to cover those a little bit more extensively there. Yeah. Okay, awesome. Now, I want to thank everyone for joining. I hope I was able to answer everyone's questions. As I said, we have quite a few more webinars coming up. So in the chat, make sure to click on our blog and sign up for that. If we were not able to answer your questions today, if you need a little bit more time to work with this and figure things out, don't worry about giving us a call or emailing us or going to our support center. You can find links to that in the chat as well. But just to repeat that, our support center you can find at support.rentman.io. So just head over there with some great new content there, the Rentman Academy, for example. You can also send us an email. Just send it to support@rentman.io. Again, that's support@rentman.io. So feel free to send us any questions, or if you just want to chat, we can chat as well, not a problem. And yeah, the next webinar is crew communication scheduling. And I think I have my date here. It's Wednesday, the September 2nd at 10 a.m. EST, so Eastern Time, North American Eastern Time. So feel free to sign up for that. And again, if you do have questions, let us know. We'd be happy to help. Thanks for joining, guys, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks a lot, Parker. Thanks,
Yeah.
Cassie.